All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going on a journey, the entrepreneur's journey. It's this wild path that can start with just a spark of an idea and, believe it or not, can end up changing the world. We're going to break down what it really takes to walk that path, from the mindset of the person starting out to the big decisions you face down the line.
So, it all kicks off with this one massive question, the one every single founder has to answer. What's the difference between a cool idea and a business that actually works, that survives, that thrives? It's a huge puzzle, and today we're going to put the pieces together.
First things first, before we even talk about the business, we have to talk about the person right at the center of it all. So let's get into it. Let's decode the entrepreneur's DNA. So, what even is an entrepreneur? Well, think of them as the captain, the engineer, and the person funding the whole expedition, all rolled into one. At its core, an entrepreneur is someone who doesn't just have the idea. They're the one who organizes all the moving parts, runs the show, and, this is the big one, takes on all the risk to make it real. And, success isn't just a lightning strike moment. It's way more complicated than that. It's this whole web of things that have to work together. You need a smart plan, a killer strategy, some real innovation, and of course a great team. It's a serious balancing act.
And here's a look at the kind of person who can actually pull that off. We're talking about someone who is seriously hardworking, who isn't afraid to take a risk, and who has a creative spark. You've got to be optimistic, super self-confident, and fiercely independent. As you look at this list, do you see a bit of yourself in there?
But here's the deal. It's all a trade-off, a huge one. On one side, you get this amazing independence. You get to turn your ideas into reality. And the potential rewards, they can be massive. But on the other side, you're staring down the very real risk of failure. You often have to use your own money, and you're giving up the safety of a regular paycheck. It's a huge gamble. No two ways about it. So if it's such a gamble, how do you stack the odds in your favor? Simple. You need a map. Let's talk about building that map, your business blueprint. And that map? It's your business plan. And listen, this isn't just some stuffy document you write for the bank. It's a tool for you. It forces you to think through every single part of your idea. And yeah, when it comes to getting funding, it's absolutely non-negotiable. A really solid plan has 7 key parts. You start with the big picture description of the business. Then you zoom in on what you're actually selling. After that, you've got to analyze the market you're jumping into. Then you get into the nitty-gritty of location, organization, and here's the part everyone flips to first, the financials. And finally, you wrap it all up with the grand strategy. Let's make this feel a bit more real. Take a look at this plan for Pizza Place Ltd. This is where it all comes together. See how it connects the product, high-quality pizza, to its market, young people and families, with a smart price of $8. Because that story makes sense, and because they've got experienced owners, their forecast profit of $30,000 suddenly feels totally believable. It's not just a guess anymore. Okay, so you're up and running. Now what? How do people even measure your business? Let's talk about measuring your footprint and the kind of support you can find. So how big is a business? Well, it depends on who you ask. There's no single number. You could measure it by how many people you employ, or by the value of what you produce, or your total sales, or even how much capital you're using. Each one tells a slightly different story, and you can bet that investors, governments, and your competition are watching all of them. And that's the key takeaway right there. You can't just look at one number. I mean, think about it. A small tech company with 10 employees could have a massive output value, right? While a factory with 500 workers might have a lower one. Context is everything. The good news is you're not always on your own. Governments often step in to help new businesses because, well, it's good for everyone. Startups create jobs, they stir up competition, they boost the whole economy. So you'll see things like training programs, cheap office space, special loans, and even grants to help get you off the ground. All right, so let's say things are going well. You're going to hit this fork in the road, a really critical decision point. We'll call it the crossroads of growth. Do you get bigger or do you stay where you are? I mean, the pull to get bigger is huge. It can mean way more profit, more status, and a bigger slice of the market. And there's this thing called economies of scale, where the more you make of something, the cheaper it gets to produce each one. Pretty powerful incentives. And there are basically 2 ways to do it. You can grow internally, that's organic growth, like opening new shops. It's slower, but you're in control. Or you can go for external growth, which means merging with or buying another company. That's way faster, but whoa, is it a lot more complicated. But, and this is a big but, growing isn't easy. It comes with a ton of predictable problems. It gets harder to control everything, communication breaks down, you can run out of money, and if you merge two companies, you can get a massive culture clash. The trick isn't to avoid these problems. It's to see them coming and have a plan ready. You know, we always talk about growth, growth, growth. But sometimes staying small is actually the winning move. Some business owners want to keep that personal control, or they just don't want the stress of a giant operation. Or maybe they serve a very specific niche market that a big company just couldn't. So this all leads to the final, and maybe the most important part of the journey. After all the planning, all the hard work, all the growth, why do some businesses make it and so many others don't? When businesses fail, it's usually not a total mystery. It often comes down to one of these things. A lack of management skill is a huge one. Not being able to adapt to a changing world is another. But the number one killer? Bad financial management. Just running out of cash. And ironically, growing too fast can be just as deadly as not growing at all. And if you're a new business, you are especially fragile. You just don't have the deep pockets, the years of experience, or the proven plans that the big guys have. It makes those first few years incredibly risky. And that brings us right back to the beginning. The entrepreneur's journey. It's all about risk and reward. It's about big ideas and careful plans. It's about growth and the very real chance of failure. So the only question left to ask is, are you ready to take that journey?